Hello, I'm from Group Noreen and Friends, and we will present our Data Analytics and Business Intelligence Group 1 assignment. This assignment consists of 4 parts, which will be presented by me, Joy and Daphne, alongside our group members, Noreen Patricia, Justin, and Nur Atira Nadra. For part 1, I will present regarding the graphs that I've prepared to compare the relative frequency and cumulative relative frequency between two metrics given, which are number of visits and number of purchase orders for 30 e-commerce websites. First and foremost, I will explain the 3 components that are used to complete this part. First component is frequency. This refers to the number of times a particular value for a variable has been observed to occur. Next is relative frequency. This refers to the proportion of the total frequency that each value or category represents. It is calculated by dividing the frequency of each value or category by the total frequency of the data set. Lastly, cumulative relative frequency refers to the sum of each proportion or percentage including and leading up to each value. It is calculated by dividing the sum of relative frequencies by the number of observations. These are the results of relative frequencies for both number of visits and number of purchase orders. The highlighted parts for each matrix are the highest relative frequencies. Based on the combined histogram, we can easily compare that the relative frequency for number of visits is higher, which is 0.43, than number of purchase orders, which is 0.23. High relative frequency for the number of visits in an e-commerce website indicates positive user engagement and retention. Based on the table, values ranges between 30 to 40 million. Number of visits shows the highest relative frequency among the other 4 ranges, which is 0.43. High relative frequency for the number of purchase orders in an e-commerce website indicates that a particular number of purchase orders is common or occurs frequently among users. This metric provides insight into the distribution of purchase orders and user behavior on the website. Based on the table values, ranges between 160 to 180 million among the 7 other ranges, which is 0.23. We can conclude that the relative frequency for number of visits is greater than the number of purchase orders by 0.2. For the next part, I will refer cumulative relative frequency to CRF. So for this part, these are the results for cumulative relative frequency for the two metrics. As you can see, CRF for number of purchase orders is higher than the number of visits. High CRF for number of purchase orders in an e-commerce website indicates that a significant proportion or users have made a certain number of purchases or more. Values ranges between 200 and 220 million out of the other 7 ranges, which is 0.97, is recorded as the highest CRF for number of purchase orders. On the other hand, high CRF for the number of visits on an e-commerce website indicates that a significant proportion of users have visited the website up to a certain number of times. Values ranges between 40 to 50 million out of the other 4 ranges, which is 0.93, is recorded as the highest CRF for number of visits. For this part, we can conclude that CRF for number of purchase orders is greater than the number of visits by 0.04. That is all for part 1. Thank you.
Hello guys, my name is Noreen Patricia binti Abdullah. My metric number is BB2311039. So I will talk about part 2, which is calculate and compare measure for central location between the two matrices. In this part, there are 3 components that we have to find, which are mean, mode, and median for the data set given, number of visits, and number of purchase order. These are the formula given for mean, mode, and median. Based on the formula, the mean for number of visit is 37.71 million. The outcome for this is the sum of all the number of visit divided by the sum of data set. On the other hand, after calculating the mean for number of purchase order, we can see that is it 166.82 million. For the next component, it is found in the mode for number 1 of visit is 34.1 million. And for number of purchase order, there is no mode because there are no data with the frequency of more than 1. This means all the number of data given are different. Median of number of visit is 34.5 million. And lastly, the median for number of purchase order is 163.9 million. We will collect all the data and make a comparison between each outcome. As a result, we can see that the number of purchase order have a highest mean, while the number of visit have a highest mode, and lastly, the number of purchase order have a highest value for median.
For part 3, calculate percentage and construct box plot for each metric. So for the percentage, we're using the 25, 50, and 75 to find out the first, second, and third quartiles. So we begin with the number of visits. This is the summary value for mean, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and the maximum. And also this is the calculation to find out the IQR. So in here, any value that is smaller than 11.73 million and larger than 65.65 million is considered an outlier. But in this data set, number of visits, there is no outlier. And this is the box plot look like since there is no outlier. As we can see, the median is located to the left of the center, then the distribution is positively skewed. Next, for the number of purchase order. So we also using the 25, 50, and 75 percentiles to find out the first, second, and third quartiles. So this is the summary value for mean, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and the maximum, and also the calculation to find out the IQR. In here, we can conclude that any value smaller than 53.68 million and larger than 283.88 million is an outlier. But in this data set number of purchase, there is no outliers. So this is the box plot look like since there is no outlier. So we note that the median located to the left of center and the right whisker is the longer than the left whisker. Then the distribution is positively skewed.
Hi everyone, my name is Dayanko Norati Ranadra binti Awang Muhammad Ghazali, and my matrix is BB23110269. In this part, I'm gonna present about calculate and compare measure of divisions between two metrics. There is the five we have to calculate and compare, which is range, mean absolute deviation, variance, standard deviation, and the last one is coefficient of variation. First, we have to find range. How to find range? We have to subtract the lowest value from the highest value. For number of visits, I got 30.8, and number of purchase order is 115.4. Range for number of purchase order is higher than number of visit. Next, we have to find mean absolute deviation or MED. First, we have to find mean by the data givens, and second, distance from mean. And distance from mean, we divided by the total amount of data, and you got the mean absolute deviation for number of visit and number of purchase order. Mean absolute deviation for number of order is 7.4484, and number of purchase order is 25.6573. MED absolute deviation for number purchase of order is higher than number of visit. We have to find variance using formula. First, we have to calculate the mean of data. Second, find each data point difference from the mean of data. Third, square each by this value. Fourth, add all up the square of data. And the last one, divide these sums by n minus 1, and you give and you will get the answer. Variance number of visit is 76.10 and number of purchase order is 987.59. Variance for number of purchase of order is higher than number of visit. For standard deviation, we have to find standard deviation by the formula given. First, we have to find the mean, and second, find each deviation from the mean. Third, square each from the mean. 4, find the sum of the squares. 5, find variance, and the last one, find the square roots of the variance. For number of visit is 7.72 and number of purchase order is 31.43. Standard deviation for number of purchase order is higher than number of visit. And lastly is coefficient of variation. To find coefficient of variation, we have to divide standard deviation by mean and multiply by 100 and you will get the answer. For number of visit, I got 23.13% and number of purchase is 18.84%. CV for number of visit is higher than number of purchase order.
So we'll talk about part 5, which is calculate and interpret measures of association between the two metrics. There are two of the measure for association, that is convariance and correlation coefficient. Convariance describe of linear relationship between two variables x and y. Correlation coefficient describe both the direction and the straight of relationship between two variables x and y. So, this is the data table. Here the convariance, you can see this is a formula for the simple convariance. From the part 2, the simple mean for the variable x is 37.71 million. For the sample mean variable y is 166.82 million. So we got the total is 176.9090. After you get the answer, we will divide with the total e-commercial minus 1. So we'll get the answer, the 6.1003. We see that after we times all the variable x and y and we divide, we total, and we got our convariance is 6.1003131119. The correlation coefficient, once we found the convariance value, we can use it calculate the correlation. From the part 4, we know that standard deviation for variable x is 8.72 million. For the standard deviation for variable y is 31.43 million. So, this is the answer after we calculating the number. So we got 0.645299175. Here we can conclude the variable x and y have a positive relationship, as seen from the positive correlation value, which is 0.645299. The strength of linear relationship between variable x and y is strong because the correlation value is more than 0.1 and negative 0.1. That's all from us. Thank you.